Welcome to another Sisterhood Check-In. I'm your author and host, Nadira Lewis. And today I want to ask you a question. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the topics and things that I've been thinking about and meditating on. So I'm going to ask you this question. How is it possible for a woman to know so much and still continuously make decisions that work against the life that she's praying for? She can know scripture. She listens to sermons. She bought the books. She's attended the conferences. She saved hundreds of inspirational videos. She even has information all over her house. She has information everywhere, but she's still struggling with the same relationships. She's still making some of the same financial decisions. She's still questioning her identity, still confused about her purpose, still allowing her emotions to make decisions that wisdom should be making. And here's what I want you to understand. The information and wisdom are not the same. You can be highly informed and still live unwisely because the information tells you what something means, but wisdom teaches you how to apply the truth to your life that you're actually living. Proverbs 4:7 says, getting wisdom is the wisest thing that you can do. And whatever else you do, develop good judgment. Notice that the scripture doesn't simply tell us to admire wisdom, it tells us to get it. So today I want to give you three shifts that I believe every woman who desires to become a woman of wisdom has to make. And stay with me because the third one may completely change how you look at some of the business decisions and even your personal decisions that you've already been making. Tip number one, stop asking only what do I know instead of asking what am I applying. Here's the first shift. Knowledge accumulated is not the same as wisdom applied. Some of us have become professional consumers, right? We consume sermons, we consume podcasts, we consume books, we consume courses, we even consume motivational content. And every week we're learning something new, right? But here's the question, what are you doing differently because of what you learned? Because if you've heard a sermon about forgiveness, but you still committed to bitterness, you received information without any form of application. If you learned about financial stewardship but refused to look at your spending, you received information again without application. If you study boundaries but continuing to say yes to everything because you're afraid of disappointing people, you received again information without applications. If you know what scripture says about your identity, but somebody's rejection can still convince you that you're worthless, there's truth. There is truth there that you know intellectually that hasn't fully transformed how you lived. And that's where wisdom comes in. Wisdom asks, how does what I know change what I do? So here's some practical things that I want to start doing here. So it is some practical things that I want to share with you that you can start doing, right? Whenever you read your scripture, finish a chapter, a book, and then listen to a teaching or learn something valuable. And then after you've done all of that, after you read the book, after you read the scripture, after you listen to a teaching, or even my podcast, right? Ask yourself, what did I learn? What did this reveal about me? And most importantly, what am I going to do differently? Because I know this now. The last question is where transformation will begin. Because wisdom isn't demonstrated by how much you can quote, wisdom is demonstrated by what truths have changed about the way that you live. Tip number two, stop letting your emotions make every decision. Now, let me say something that will challenge you, right? Your feelings are real, but they are not always reliable leadership. And that's important because sometimes women say, I feel like God is telling me. I feel like this relationship is different. I feel like this opportunity is for me. And feelings do matter. But wisdom asks another question, what is true? You can feel lonely and still know going back to unhealthy relationships isn't wise. You can feel afraid and still know obedience is necessary. You can feel offended and still know that you need to control your response. You can feel excited about an opportunity and still need to investigate it. You can feel attracted to somebody and still recognize their character isn't compatible with the future that you're trying to build. That's wisdom. Wisdom doesn't tell you to become emotionless. Wisdom teaches your emotions that they don't have to sit in the driver's seat. So before you make the next important decision, slow down. Ask yourself, am I responding to what is true or am I reacting to what I'm feeling? Then ask, what will this decision produce 6 months from now? Because emotional thinking asks, what will make me feel better for right now? Wisdom asks, what will produce the right fruit later? There's a completely different way of that's a different way and a completely different way of living. And women of wisdom learn how to think beyond the moment. Number three, stop asking God to change your to only change your situation, right? And here's the third shift I want you to think about, right? And this one goes deep. Sometimes we're praying, God, change the situation, God, remove the person, God, open this door, God, increase my finances, God, give me the opportunity, God, send me the relationship, God, grow the business. And there's nothing wrong with bringing those desires to God. But there's another prayer I believe mature women have to learn, and that is how to pray, God, develop me, right? Instead of asking God to bring all those desires, just bring desires that you want in a moment in time, ask God to develop you. Because what happens if God changes your circumstances, but you bring the same mentality into the new situation, then nothing has really changed, right? What happens if God increases your finances, but you never develop financial wisdom? What happens if God sends you a healthy relationship, but you aren't healed? And the patterns that you've been operating in cause you to sabotage healthy relationships. What happens if God gives you the influence, but the character isn't ready for visibility? What happens if God gives you more, but you still haven't learned how to steward what you already have? Sometimes we're praying for a changed environment when we also need to be praying to be transformed. So the prayer should become, God, don't just open doors, but prepare me to walk in them. Don't just give me more. Teach me how to steward the more that you give me. Don't just give me influence. Develop the character that's required to carry the influence. Don't just change my circumstances. Develop wisdom inside of me so that I can recreate, so that I don't recreate old circumstances in a new environment. That's maturity. And this is a shift that I want you to leave when it comes to this video. Stop asking only what is God going to do for me next, and start asking, who am I becoming for where God is taking me next? Because a woman praying for the next level has to become capable of stewarding that next level. The woman praying for healthy relationships needs wisdom regarding relationships. The woman praying for wealth needs wisdom in the area of finances. The woman praying for influence needs wisdom regarding her character. The woman praying for marriage needs wisdom about relationships in herself, right? The woman praying for business growth needs wisdom about leadership, stewardship, and strategy. The woman raising children need wisdom about how to build her life again, how to become the mother that God has created her to be. The woman walking in purpose needs wisdom about how to carry her assignment without making her assignment her identity, right? And you might say, well, what is that? What do you mean making my assignment my identity? That means whenever people talk to you, the core of who you are is always based on what you're doing. It's never who you are. Not a lot of people take the time to really cultivate and develop and even discover the person that they are without separating and detaching themselves from what God has called them to do. Your platform and the areas of influence that God has given you is not your identity. I heard Apostle Joshua Selman say this, and it's really blessed my soul. He said, he said that somebody asked him what would he do if he wasn't, preaching. And he said, I'll be doing the same thing. And he said, because preaching and teaching is a vehicle. He said, it's a vehicle, he said, but I build people for a living. I help build people for a living. And he said, preaching is how I do it for free. If I didn't do it through preaching, if I didn't use the vehicle of preaching, then you'd have to pay for my knowledge coming from a different place. And I say that to you, separate what you do and discover who you are, so that when you do show up in different vehicles, whether it's on a platform of TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, that you're not identifying, you're not making those platforms your identity, so that when God tell you, I need you to shift, you're able to shift, and you're not feeling like, if I do shift, that I'm going to lose something. I'm going to lose my influence. I'm going to lose, because who you are is who God created you to be. What you do is what you do. Who you are is who you are, and they're separate. And they can work together for you to create tremendous results. But the only way you'll create those tremendous results is if you are able to identify the woman, that who she is in her identity. Wisdom touches everything. That's why becoming a woman of wisdom isn't about becoming a woman who knows everything. Most people think, when I say becoming a woman of wisdom, some people might interpret that as, because I think I know everything, and I haven't lived that long. I'm only this amount. I'm only 52. You don't know anything. You don't know enough to have wisdom. But becoming a woman of wisdom isn't about becoming a woman who knows everything. It's becoming a woman who has learned how to see God, discern truth, and understand herself, right? And not only that, learn how to make sound decision and apply what she knows. That's the key thing. You have to learn how to apply what you know. Once you've gained the knowledge, once you've gained the wisdom, you have to be able to know how to apply it. So I say this many times: wisdom is applied revelation. It's simply knowing, it's not just simply knowing what God says, it's discovering how to apply what God said in a way that produces kingdom results in your actual life. And maybe your next breakthrough isn't about isn't another piece of information. Maybe you already know enough to begin changing your own life. Maybe what you need now is the wisdom to apply what you already learned. And that's the kind of woman we're developing inside of the Becoming a Woman of Proverbs Wisdom Academy. This is simply about collecting scriptures. It's about becoming the woman who can live them, a woman that's rooted in her identity, a woman growing in discernment, a woman who understands stewardship, a woman who recognizes her worth, a woman who knows how to overcome the mentalities and obstacles that are trying to keep her stuck. A woman who can take wisdom from scripture and apply it to her faith, her relationships, motherhood, money, business, purpose, and everyday decisions. So whether you've ever become a part of an academy or not, I want you to leave this video with one assignment. Take out your journal and answer these three questions. Who do I already know? What do I already know that I'm not applying? Where have my emotions been making decisions that wisdom should have been making? What do I need to become to wisely steward what I've been praying for? And don't rush through these questions. Sit with them, pray about them, and write them out. Write out the answers honestly. And then choose one thing you're going to apply this week. Because we're not trying to become women who simply know more. We're becoming women who live wiser. If these kind of conversations are something that you need in this season, then subscribe to my channel and stay connected. And remember, a woman of wisdom doesn't simply hear truth. She builds her life with it. I'll see you next time.